This is the Bama Podcast with Marty Solomon. I'm his co-host, Brent Billings. Today I am with Elle Grover Fricks and Josh Bossé to crack open the question of what a biblical blessing is.
That's right. Blessings, super important. Super important in the text, super important in theology, right? If blessing all nations is our key center of gravity, what does that even mean? So hot takes, cold takes, things that we've said in the past. What have we talked about when we say what is a blessing? What things have been percolating around for you guys if you think the word blessing?
I feel like blessing might be one of the earliest Jewish contextual things that I ever learned about. Mm-hmm. The idea of a blessing being this active agent and speaking a blessing using the words actually, forces, compels, whatever, God to act on something.
Ooh, breaking here. Brent has power over the divine.
I've heard it said a number of different ways as it's been talked about over the years, but some kind of the words that you say actually cause things to happen. So don't speak carelessly.
Well, that's exciting. I love kicking off that way. That's great. Thank you. Further down the path than I thought that we might get. Josh, what pops to mind for you? Pops to heart. Are we just mind-centric?
Pops to heart. Yeah. The heart, biblically speaking, the heart just covers it all. It's whatever's thumping around inside of you.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
Blessing it's a tricky one because I feel like there's kind of this, there's a continuum from like what you were saying, God blessing things directly, God saying we are to be a blessing. And then we can see, for instance, very, very famously with Balaam, where, blessings and curses are like the substance of the conflict. There is a very tangible reality to them. And then on the other end of the continuum, we have we say blessings, and not even in the sense that Brent is talking about, when I think about the blessings in Judaism that you say over food or over initiating Shabbat, those aren't blessings that are trying to get God to do something. Those are just speaking praise. So what does it we mean when we say blessing?
Yeah.
And you and I talked about this recently, looking at the words. I'm sorry if I'm getting ahead of you,
no,
but just
please lay it down.
General idea of blessing being connected to our knees. So it's often talked about as kneeling down, but it can also just describe a downward flow. Something is descending, which makes a lot of sense for me if we're just thinking about blessing as a kind of general, the shape of a kind of movement that you're whether it's a parent dropping down on their knees to help their kid with something, or a king making their riches descend on someone, or God attending to what we're doing, or us just kind of bowing ourselves before God. There is a downward movement. So that's really the only thing I feel I can lean on with blessing. The rest of it kind of sits for me personally in this ambiguous kind of quantum space of how does it engage with things? Like Brent said, there are times where these words have incredible power, and then there's other times where they're just something we do ritualistically that we don't expect to have any of that kind of power. So I'm very curious to see how you break this down.
Oh, fun times. Well, thank you. You
no
hit
pressure.
on no, none at all. You hit on important stuff for sure. I think talking about Genesis 12, I think the discussion has been about brach means knee specifically. And so kneeling is a posture of service. So when we say blessing all nations or people, we're also thinking about serving all nations and people. And that's certainly true. And nothing I'm aiming to say today is supposed to blow up that idea. I just want to get more granular into this idea of what is a blessing. And so in the middle of this series, which tends to take a specific form, we say Talmudic perspective. We do, we kind of walk through the passage. We're not going to quite do that today. We're going to look at the Jewish perspective on blessing first. Then we're going to look at a Christian perspective on blessing. I'm going to offer up a definition. Ooh. And then we're going to check all of that against the text, because what are we doing if we're not doing that, right? And that is all going to set us up to look at the Beatitudes, in which are blessings, in a more precise light. So at the end, we'll look at them as a whole. And then next week, Josh, mostly, Lord willing, the creek doesn't rise, is going to take us through the Beatitudes more specifically. So this is kind of an intro to next week. So Jewish use, Christian use, my attempt at a definition, biblical checking, and then bringing in the actual Matthew passage. So that's the meal we have before us. So Yankee Tauber is a Hasidic scholar, and he says that a bracha, blessing, literally means drawing down, which I love that you even said. I think you said those exact words. His whole quote is, everything in life, health, abundance, joy, wisdom, peace of mind, needs to be drawn down from its potential spiritual state into the actuality of our physical existence. The potential has been there all along, but when we say it, it makes it more real. So in classic Jewish cosmology, where he's coming from, there's God's realm, which is above ours, and then there's ours, and there's places and points where they intersect, high places being one of those spots. There's whole studies you can do just on that concept. But this reminded me of the concept that also shows up in Judaism of divine sparks. Are you familiar with divine sparks? And if you are, say more about them.
Oh, yeah. Divine sparks is very cool. It's kind of part of some of the rabbinic conversations and threads, and it gets into some of the mysticism. And what I love about it is, at least from the bits I've picked up in that whole kind of thread of conversation, it feels like some Jesus-y stuff that, worked its way into rabbinic Judaism. A lot of I'm not sure how directly it's connected to the Baal Shem Tov, but anywho, I really like that whole thing. So anyway, I'm gushing about it without anyone knowing what it is. So my understanding of it is that, God created us, and we are like these shining beacons of God's image, but also, God created everything, and there's little sparks of the divine, little fly-offs, little bits of God that are everywhere, all in all of creation. But they're hidden. They're buried under layers of, whether it's just, practical dead materiality or whatever. And it's our job to find those things, find the divine little seed at the center of sometimes, very dark places, or things that seem to not have a lot of spirituality inherent to them, and digging deeper and finding that.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. The Jewish thinker Tzvi Freeman says the divine spark of a thing is its meaning, what it's really trying to say, its place in the puzzle of the grand story we call time. So the idea, therefore, is my dining room table is not just a dining room table. And maybe it would carry spiritual significance on its own if it was like gifted to me, but it wasn't. I just bought it when we moved into a new home. So it feels like a neutral material object. But this idea of divine sparks says that when I use my table for hospitality, when I offer the spiritual gift of home to another person through a meal or time spent together, when I nourish my family with food, when I teach my kids the alphabet, when I read scripture to them there, I am liberating its divine spark. The reason, the meaning, the purpose behind the table has been unlocked. So therefore, why am I talking about this when we're supposed to be talking about blessings? A blessing is a way of drawing down that meaning across the boundary of heaven or the world to come, right? God's realm to earth in a real tangible way, which unlocks those sparks or activates them.
Oh, man. Okay. I want to jump in here because this is drawing a connection. So I'm trying to remember. I don't think you were on this. You were on the last 2 episodes of my Mishkan series.
Mm-hmm.
So the episode right before you jumped on for day 5, we talked about it's the day where God creates the birds and the fish. And this is also where, if I'm remembering correctly, God gives the very first blessing.
Yes.
And one of the details that I pulled out, which now takes on new significance, is that when God blesses the birds that fill that heavenly space, God specifically blesses them in their home on the ground. Blessed are you on the earth. And I think that's a significant movement, especially since it parallels day 2, which is all about rain, which is also a drawing down. So yeah, I really love that definition of blessing and divine sparks. Those are much more succinct and really powerful. I love this.
Fantastic. You look like you have thoughts, Brent.
I'm just looking at Genesis 1 and just being amazed at that detail that's been sitting there the whole time. It's great.
Yeah, it kind of stuck out to me too. Like, why birds get the first blessing? Why fish? What's up with that?
Yeah. The reason Jesus people put fish on their cars is actually because we're honoring them as the first receivers of blessings. You are the most holy fish.
I mean, what's the number 2 icon? Well, other than the cross, I guess we do put doves on things too.
That's true. Okay. Oh, good stuff. Well, power to birds and fish, I guess. Okay, I'm going to pivot to the Christian tradition here. John O'Donohue, whose book I'm going to shout out at the end again. I've shouted out before, but he says, we live on the shoreline of the invisible, which sounds kind of similar, right? When we think about the cosmology, the world to come, heaven, God's realm, and then this one and how they intersect, as Jesus talks about with kingdom is at hand, right? So he talks about blessings, therefore, as vessels animated by the Holy Spirit, which draws the invisible across that shoreline down into our material world. Here's a quote from him. A blessing is different from a greeting, hug, salute, or affirmation. It opens a different door. He goes on to say, in the light and reverence of blessing, a person or situation becomes illuminated in a completely new way. In a dead wall, a new window opens. In dense darkness, a path starts to glimmer. And into a broken heart, healing falls like morning dew. It is ironic that so often we continue to live like paupers through our inheritance of spirit is so vast. A blessing is a circle of light drawn around a person to protect, heal, and strengthen. A blessing forebrightens the way. Maybe some people will absolutely love that, and maybe some people will be like, morning dew, what? What? And that's okay.
I like that. I feel like that's a very incarnational read of blessings. Of it's like, and this is, I think, a thread that was also present in the Jewish understanding of like taking things and making them more real by putting words to it, by actually saying the thing. It like, I mean, and this is very true when we talk about blessing other people. Like if you see someone else has potential and then you bless them by saying, I see this in you, like that makes whatever little spark or seed or little bit of potential you see, like that person's now going to be paying attention to it and feel more empowered in it, probably.
Most likely. It's I've had to restrain myself from going, 3 times in this one episode. Just drop that clip in different spots. Yeah, absolutely. That's what our words are supposed to do. Like if we bring this definition back up into Genesis 12, this is what we're supposed to be doing for all peoples. Boy, oh boy, I hope we're succeeding at causing something to come alive in other people instead of killing what is trying to come out from other people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've done our Jewish approach, we've done our Christian approach. Here's Elle's approach, which is fully arguable with, by the way. None of this is set in stone, but when I draw together things, and we're going to look at the text, so some of our supporting evidence, of course, is really important in the text. But this is the definition I've cobbled together, and I'll read it twice because it's lengthy. A tangible, supernatural, familial, or priestly declaration drawn down from the heavenly realm through the Spirit, which serves as a compass across thresholds, grabs a hold of someone's destiny, and pushes them in a new direction. That wasn't a great reading anyway, but I'll read it one more time. A blessing is, potentially, a tangible, supernatural, familial, or priestly declaration drawn down from the heavenly realm through the Spirit, which serves as a compass across thresholds, grabs a hold of someone's destiny, and pushes them in a new direction. Does anything immediately pop out to y'all as intriguing from that definition?
I like the propulsiveness of, like, when you're blessing someone, you're pushing them into their destiny, which, I mean, I think some people will fight you on and reject that push. But if somebody is willing to go for it, to like achieve what God has made them to be, or whatever is at stake here, then that's just going to propel them all the faster into their purpose.
On their way. Yeah. Good.
I love the way that definition is constantly following like the structures of pre-existing relationships. Like this is something that is declared from a basis of relational authority, right? You said priestly, you said familial. I love that it's like that there has to be some sort of position where that makes sense. Like if you just go up to a random person, like it's not going to mean as much. Do you actually know them? Like even if you are seeing something that you interpret in one way or another, and this is not to say a Holy Spirit can't inspire you to do things. And this is the other thing I liked, is the way that it kind of maintains the mystical aspect of it, but also doesn't make it like we're calling something into being. Like it's already there. We're drawing, it's from heaven. It's happening through the Spirit. We don't get to direct it. We don't get to define it away from how, it already exists. And ultimately, like, I love how from every aspect, I also agree with Brent that the propulsive aspect of it is really cool. Like ultimately it's supposed to help you walk the path that God already has for you.
It doesn't move your feet for you. You still have to do that, but it is a tool, a compass. And you also, as Brent pointed out, have the ability to throw that compass in the trash and be like, no.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you are walking, then yeah, it's like, it's flipping on the nos a little bit. And it's like, oh yeah, I am supposed to walk in this direction. Like you kind of feel the wind at your back. But yeah. I love just like how at every point, every node in that like kind of flow chart you described, I'm making it sound more dry than it actually was.
I mean, it's pretty dry. It's fine.
Well, don't sell yourself short. There's a lot of poetic imagery in there that I really like. But the fact that it's like you as the blesser are not, even though like you're speaking maybe from a position of familial or priestly authority, you're not the one who's making a decision. It's already something that exists that you are not in control of. You're just kind of bearing witness to what God is already doing. And I like that dynamic because it still keeps it dynamic and mystical and keeps the power in the words without making it like, if you bless something the wrong way,
X plus Y equals Z.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that through the Spirit there is also really important. And I know that the people who do walk around being like, you're going to have a baby in 1 year's time, that they also believe that they're doing that in the Spirit. So this is not that helpful for them. But, it is supposed to be in partnership with the Spirit. And that's the difference, right, between a prophet and a false prophet. Is a false prophet is making declarations that just seem nice, right? Or at least that's the way they're portrayed in Tanakh. But let's check all of these ideas against the text. What an idea.
Well, speaking of the text, this is not what we're going to read, so I'm going to ask about it now.
Sure.
Jacob, when he wrestles,
and
then asks for the blessing at the end, how would you describe that relationship
Ooh.
that would give this figure the authority to offer a blessing to him?
There's lots of, when I say lots, there's two immediate ways that come to mind. Two that come to mind about talking about that question. I love checking that one against the definition too, right? Because it is a threshold of Yaakov's destiny, because he's just finally left Lavan's house and he's like, okay, I need to go build my own house. And Lavan's pursuing him and he's about to cross a literal river. He's just sent his wife and kids across already, and then he's hanging out on the other shore. There's some comment that says that that angel is Esav. Wait, Esav? His brother. Yes. Okay. I'm not making it up. That patriarchs get jumbled in my brain sometimes, and many people's. Okay. So that it is a family member who shows up and he is wrestling him and maybe trying to kill him. And he says, no, give me a blessing, right? Mark the fact that I am the Bechor, that I am the chosen.
Man. Okay.
So it is family. If it's not, and it is an angel, right, which is the traditional take, then he is a heavenly being, and so he gets to do that.
I was going to say that has been something that I've played with in the back of my head. I had not read it anywhere, but in my head, I'm just like, oh, it would make a lot of sense and be juicy in the text. What if he's wrestling Esav, like back in the womb? Like, this would be so perfect.
Right.
And and especially with the idea of there being that familial connection there. There's, oh my gosh. Which makes, if that is what happens, then the next day when he pulls up with, a small army, there's like a little, they're like, you know what happened last night?
Right. We already tried to fight. It didn't work. Let's play nice instead. Yes. I could be wrong. That could have been something that wasn't in the literature. It could have just been me and I logged it a long time ago. So maybe we have both had the same thing from the Spirit.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, exactly. No shade if it's just the Spirit, but it would be cool if it was also in the rabbinic literature.
Yeah. Someone else who asks for a blessing, by the way, we're fully off track now, but it's dope, is Judges 1, Achsa, Kalev's daughter, gets like sold off. He's like, whoever conquers Kiryat Sefer can have my daughter. And Othniel does. And it says that Achsa comes back and jumps out for donkey, is like, give me a blessing to her dad. The land you gave me sucks. It needs water on it. Give me land with water. So anyway, people ask for blessings all the time in the Bible. And again, all of the time means 2 times. Okay.
Well, I was going to say too, like that's also a very appropriate place. Like you said, with Jacob, there's, he's standing at an appropriate threshold where it makes sense. He's not just like going through his life. Similarly here, Achsa just got married. She's about to go to this new life. And she's like, hey, I don't see any way forward. I really need you to like give me some juice to give us a direction, because
I think a marital threshold is one of those thresholds, because Rivka has just given her consent, which is important, ding 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 ding, to Eliezer to go and marry Yitzhak. And before she leaves, it says the women of her house come together and they bless her, and which is also a baller blessing. They're like, may your children seize the gates of their enemies. Which if we could make baby showers more like that in our culture, that'd be rad.
I might have to start coming to baby showers.
Yeah. Fantastic. Okay, well, let's look at the actual story that I had planned to talk about today. Pretty important. Genesis 27. I'll give the intro here, and then Brent, you can read the actual text. But a patriarch thinks he's dying. Classic patriarch. If you know, you know. I mean, medicine wasn't great back then, so maybe I'm being hard on them, but it always seems like, please, I'm dying, for chapters. So he says here, I do not know the day of my death. I'm old. Please lift your clinking things, your quiver and your bow. This is Yitzchak talking to Esav. Depart to the field and hunt meat for me. Make me a delicacy that I love. Bring it to me that I might eat it, so that my soul will bless you before I die. Before you die would be a different tone. Brent, could you read how Yitzchak blesses Yaakov by accident when he thinks it's Esav? Maybe.
And this is in the EGFV?
Yeah, sure.
Your own translation here?
Sure. Either that or TIU translation, one of the two. If we're going to go with acronyms, either one
TIU
works.
or TUV. I don't know.
Whatever.
Okay. Yeah, we'll figure something out. He knelt and blessed him. He said, see, the smell of my son is like the smell of a field which Yahweh has knelt and blessed. The Elohim will give you from the dew of the sky and the fatness of the land, abundance and grain and new wine. Peoples will serve you and bow themselves to you, gathered peoples. Be a hero to your brothers. The sons of your mother will bow themselves to you. Those that bind you to a curse will be bound to a curse. Those that bless you will be blessed.
Ah, amazing. Okay. And then before we do hot takes, because I know there must be some stuff percolating in there, Joshua and Brent.
I got questions.
Great. Can you read Esav's portion so that we have both right next to each other?
As Esav heeded the words of his father, he bellowed a great bellow. He was very bitter. He said to his father, bless me, also I, my father. He said, your brother came in to shoot. He has taken your blessing. He said, is he not called the name Yaakov? He has taken my heel those 2 times. He took my chosenness, and look here, now he has taken my blessing. He said, have you not joined a blessing for me? Yitzhak answered. He said to Esav, look here, I have set him as a hero to you and all his brothers. I have given to him servants and grain and new wine. I supported him. To you, what shall I do, my son? Esav said to his father, one blessing is it for you, my father? Bless me also, I, my father. Esav lifted his voice. He wept. Yitzhak, his father, answered. He said to him, look here, from the fatness of the land will be your dwelling place. From the dew of the sky above, and upon your sword you shall live. You shall serve your brother. It will be when you roam that you will break his yoke from over your neck.
Ooh. Okay, so there's a lot there, obviously. Big portion of scripture. But before we chasten ourselves and make ourselves return to this definition and check it, just have fun. What's the stuff that pops out to y'all? Because I'm sure, Brent, you said you have questions.
Well, the first thing that struck me the most was the see, and then it's talking about smell. Mm-hmm. But then later, when he's talking to Esav, it's look, and then it's actually like referring to things that you would see.
Pull it together, Hebrew. What are you doing?
And I'm wondering, is it even 2 different words? Because first you translate it as see, and then later you translate look here.
Yes. See is a very common word, la. And look here is a exclamation, which carries an exhortative function.
Yes.
Okay.
Hine.
So, yeah.
Hine. Yep, that's the hineni words base. Okay, other stuff that popped out.
Well, I mean, lining up very nicely with your definition, both, oh my goodness, I almost said the wrong word. Both blessings talk about things descending from the heavens.
Yes.
Or actually does, from the dew of the sky above. Yep. And that's interesting that they all just kind of start with that as their reference point, even though the blessing like extends to the goodness of the earth and all those things. It always starts in heaven. And that's very interesting. I mean, there's so much about the little nuances of your translation here that I know I could get us on some real cool rabbit trails, but I'll leave my comments there.
Darn! I was looking forward to just luxuriating into some Genesis 27, having our own delicacies.
Yeah, I like the hero angle. That is a really interesting reframing of kind of that position of leadership that is often just like, you'll rule over them.
Right.
And makes it a much more like, this is who you should be to your brothers, Go out and be the dang hero. Be someone who is like worthy of that title. Is kind of more the, speaking of exhortative functions, there is kind of a call to live in a different way that goes with this, which I don't think is as apparent in the other English translations. It's just like, look, you got, to use some D&D language, like this is just a permanent buff. You get fatness of the land. Every time it's your turn, you get, to collect some fatness from the land. And instead, just like, this is what God is going to put at your disposal, and here's how you live that out. That's, a lot more holistic, I guess.
Yeah, I love that. That's pertains to the part of the definition that talks about this is your compass across this threshold. The threshold here being the death, supposedly, of Yitzchak, who doesn't die for quite some time, but he thinks he's on the edge.
I wonder too, because in terms of the passing of the baton from patriarch to Bechor as the next patriarch, like, I'm guessing if Yitzhak, like, is this some sort of retirement thing? Like, even if he's not necessarily like, is this maybe he's not saying like, I'm about to die any day now, although that would also be fine. But is he more saying like, I'm done with this patriarch stuff. I can't do this anymore. Someone else needs to take over these responsibilities.
Totally could be. And like sending your son out into the wilderness to hunt something kind of goes with that idea, right? Like, we're going to have a feast for your inauguration as new head of the family. Totally could be. Not sure. What has always stood out to me before I was formulating this definition, though, to bring us over to that, is that this has got to be like a tangible supernatural thing, because otherwise he could just say it again. Right?
Yes, that's a great point.
It's very the woman who touched the wing of Jesus's garment, and he's like, "Whoa, power just went out for me. What just happened?" Because if it was something that was just like nice words, like a speech at a graduation ceremony in our era or in culture, then you could just say it again, like, or like a different nice version, like, "Oh yeah, other son, you're also going to crush it." The end, But he's like, "No, I actually cannot. It has gone out onto your brother. So you have to have something that is different." It's familial because it's father to sons. It's threshold, like we said. And it's also, you gave word to the compass piece of what does it look like as you step into this role. But it's also giving Yaakov a new direction to his destiny, right? Because this is not who Yaakov was. He was not the hero in the field. His brother was not bowing to him. He was hanging out in his mom's tent. That is the description of him. And the rabbis say, because he was studying Torah. But this still wasn't his thing. And yet the rabbis also say, perhaps Dad did know what he was doing here. We don't know exactly how much Yitzchak was in on everything that was going down. But this gave a new direction to Yaakov. And literally, like, if you want to play the game of chicken and the egg, it did end up sending Yaakov off in a completely new life direction, in that he had to flee his family and go to this other house and do this whole thing. So, which
is backwards of what he says. Like, Yitzhak says to Esav, "It will be when you roam that you break his yoke from over your neck." But then he's not the one who actually leaves.
Well, Esav does leave, right? He takes his wifey wives, and that his mom isn't pleased with. And he goes and meets his brother out there in the middle of the wilderness. And he says, "I'm going to go to Edom," right?
Well, right. But I just mean,
Mount Seir.
It seems like Jacob is supposed to stay put and take over everything. And then Esau's supposed to go somewhere else. And then Jacob doesn't actually stay there. He doesn't actually live into that, like, taking over of the family that he's trying to do.
I think this goes toward what we were saying earlier, where, you can also cut directly against this. Because, I mean, literally the reason Yaakov leaves. We aren't given the impression that was what he wanted to do. It was what he did because he was told, "Oh, Esau's trying to kill you." He's made some
sure, yeah,
some promises about what he's going to do the next time he sees you.
Literally going to hunt you down, just like he did this goat.
Yes, and he's a good hunter. He's good at it. So
right.
It's like his number one skill set.
Yeah, big bummer. And I do think, toward what you're saying, Brent, maybe he's still keeping this in mind, this blessing that he stole, because when God talks to him at the ladder scene, what Yaakov says is, hey, like, okay, fine, you can be my God, but only if you give me good food, only if you also give me nice clothes, only if you provide X, Y, and Z for me. Then after that happens, we'll see. But at that point, you can be my God and I'll be your kiddo. So maybe he has that in mind, like, hey, the things that are mine are abundance and grain and new wine, baby. So like, if you're not on board with that, God, like, pull it together, because that's what my dad told me.
As our resident Jacob stan, to reframe it a little bit, I wonder if it could also be him saying, like, if this blessing is legit and I really, because being on the run, like, actually, this is a tangent that has another tangent in front of it that I want to say first, which is it's interesting to me that when Yitzhak is talking to Esav, he says, in addition to setting him as hero, he says, I have also given to him servants and grain and new wine. Mm-hmm. And this seems to be, servants didn't come up anywhere in his blessing that I can see.
Peoples will serve you and bow themselves to you, gathered peoples.
I guess serve. Okay, cool. All right. Well, then I'll shut up. But Yaakov definitely does not leave with any of these things. He's got like maybe a backpack. Probably not even a backpack, because he uses a rock as a pillow. So he's True. Not. He's how do you be the Bechor? How do you be the next patriarch when you don't? You don't have a Beit Av.
Yeah.
Nice try, good luck being a hero, good luck being a patriarch. And I wonder if he's saying, like, if this is actually going to happen, then I'm like, this is the path I'm on. But like, you've got to make this happen, because I cannot pull it together with just the resources I have at my disposal currently.
Right.
Anyway, that's just me.
It's just good stuff. Okay, so just a couple other examples. We've already talked a little bit about one of them. We've got Moshe blessing the people in Deuteronomy 33. We've got Jacob blessing his sons before he dies at the end of Genesis. Sometimes we have blessings that we're not told what content they had. Those pop up a lot. Genesis 24, God blesses Abraham, but it doesn't say how he blessed him or what he said. But also in that same chapter, like we talked about earlier with our cool baby showers or bridal showers, we mentioned already Rivka being blessed before she leaves. And so lining that one up, that is checking the threshold box, because she's going to go marry somebody. That's a pretty big life threshold, if I've ever heard of one. I want to argue that seize the gate of his enemies is something that an angel told Abraham back in chapter 22 is going to happen. So in my opinion, therefore, let me just read it before I try to make that case. It says, they called to Rivka. They said to her, will you go with this man? She said, I will go. They sent Rivka, their sister, and her wet nurse, and the servant of Abraham and his men. They knelt and blessed Rivka. They said to her, our sister, you may be for thousands of great 10,000s. Your seed will seize and possess the gates of those who hate them. Rivka arose, and her young women, they rode upon camels and went after the men. So in chapter 22 of Genesis, it is added to the blessing, the command that God has given to Abraham previously. They reiterate those who bless you, we will bless, and those who curse you, we will curse. But then the angel adds on this line, seize the gate of those who hate you. So therefore, in my opinion, it seems like these women who are blessing Rivka have tapped in to something that God is doing, something from the heavenly realm that they would have no reason to know about. And yet they're able to access what God is up to in the world because they state it over Rivka before she goes. It's still familial. They call her our sister. And there's a new direction to her destiny because Rivka is marrying into this family of God that has an incredibly specific destiny, right? Thousands of 10,000s might not have been her path if she had said no to Abraham's offer through Eliezer.
Yeah.
So a little bit more thorough take on that section.
Perhaps a cool alternative reading is that because the blessing of that Avraham receives from God of the addition of seizing the gates of their enemies, it happens after Avraham says the phrase about the Lord will provide, which I'm sure we could talk about the interpretation of that phrase, but it's interesting that the text notes that that Avraham names this place that, and then until this day, the text says, it is said, on the mountain of the Lord, it will be provided. Like there is a kind of coining of a phrase. And I wonder if maybe this story of Abraham's spread to the wider culture and perhaps, especially given an episode we did a while ago about the role of women, specifically in like keeping the stories and singing the songs and like passing those stories on. Maybe this is why the women in the house of Bethuel knew about this, and they're saying, "Oh, you're about to join Avraham's household. This is what you're going to be a part of now." Just a thought.
That could be.
Could be wrong.
That could be.
It is a pretty short timeline,
to get there.
for that to spread. But
and Avraham wasn't like in the middle of town,
that's
right?
true. Yes.
When that happened.
Yes,
and he
exactly.
doesn't seem to have a great track record of sharing things with his community / with his wife. Kind of keeps her in the dark on things sometimes. So it's always possible, but perhaps not. The last one that I want to look at together, you also have already referenced, Josh, but it's Numbers 22 through 24. And it's about the pagan bro, Balaam. He's been ordered to curse God's people, and he can't and won't. He says specifically, "Behold," or "Look here, I have received a commandment to bless. He has blessed, and I cannot turn it back." The verse right before that says, "God is not man that he should lie, or a son of Adam that he should relent. Has he said, and he will not do it, or he has spoken and will not raise it up?" So it feels very supernatural, very tangible. It's real. Words aren't just words. But they have this divine meaning, right? He won't just like check the box for the guy who's hiring him to curse God's people. He's not just like, sure, whatever, I'll say something. Nothing matters. It's like, no, God won't let me. It's not what he has in mind. We're not told much about Balaam, but he's some kind of professional pagan from Pethor, which is probably modern Kurdish territory, by the way, that the king of Moab summons from afar. So maybe he's a priest. So that kind of checks that priestly box, perhaps.
Do you know the rabbinic tradition about Balaam?
No, tell me.
They say that basically Balaam was a Moses-like figure sent to another nation.
Oh.
And I bring this up because in talking about blessings and being able to throw away your compass, he took this connection with God where he seems to also be very familiar with Adonai and uses that name directly.
Right.
And God speaks to him directly, and he's not like freaked out. God doesn't have to say like, don't fear. Come. He's just like, Balaam, what are you doing? Yeah. And it seems that Balaam has taken that direction for his life and been like, well, how about I just make a bunch of money? So, yeah.
Also relatable.
Yeah.
Perhaps not to me, but to many people have taken that track of like, sometimes God heals people. Well, how about ka-ching, ka-ching for moi? Yeah, the text says he taps into the spirit in chapter 24 specifically. He's not just, conjuring all of this up. But that's super fun.
He's not faking it.
No. He sees what God is doing with these people and he refuses to speak against them. So he says it's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Their destiny is set. He won't curse them. But then he adds to their current destiny that their kingdom will be exalted and they will triumph over their enemies. The threshold, by the way, in this one is to battle or not with Moab. Which maybe from a historical perspective doesn't feel like much of a threshold, but when you're like, a mom of an 18-year-old boy, does it feel like a threshold, right? He's going to go out and potentially or even probably die or not.
Yeah.
So, okay. So one last thing, preempting the question of how does this work? What's the biggest hole here? What does it mean when people bless God, right? God doesn't need his destiny grabbed. God doesn't need a compass. And yet we still, especially in the Psalms and other places, wisdom literature, have commands or statements about blessing God. And that's a big cornerstone of the Jewish Orthodox life of blessing, right? Is it starts with blessed be God, King of the universe, for he has given us XYZ, this mitzvot, this holiday, this rain. And that doesn't quite fit, right? Because God's already in God's realm. He doesn't need anything to be raised up to his realm. He's there already. What are we doing? He's, we can say there's something familial there, which is nice, but we're definitely lower on the power hierarchy than he is. So what are we doing?
Maybe we're coming into God's realm and just dusting a little bit. It's not falling down onto God. It's already there. It's just, we just want to clean it up and make the blessing float around or something. I don't know.
Only if we can have the personality of the duster from Beauty and the Beast.
Yes.
That's important.
Perfect.
Je t'adore.
Perfect. Oh, man. So I have a hypothesis. Josh, do you have a hypothesis before?
I'm infuriated that you've misled us because clearly this is an intractable contradiction. How can we possibly bless God? This is heresy now.
I live for your facetious spirit. It's great. It helps me a lot. That wasn't facetious, believe it or not. I love it. On tenterhooks here. Okay, so here's my hypothesis. When people bless God, they are pulling down a fact about God, which is already fully realized. So it's similar to the idea of praise. So praise, which in Hebrew is either hallel or yara, both have an upness to them. It's about upness of hands or upness of throwing something upwards. It's used for shooting stuff. So to bless God is to declare something about God, which draws the heavenly realm down here. To praise God is to declare something about God, which casts it upwards. So functionally, the same phrase can work for both. God, you are good. You can say that and you're casting this truth up to you. That's praise. Or if you're in a situation that doesn't feel good, saying, God, you are good, is making a declaration that draws that truth about God down into our reality.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Is there an idea of raising your hands and dipping your fingers into the heavenly realms?
Ooh. Yes, certainly. The fingers part, I really like that. I don't know, but the most ancient pictogram for the Hebrew character H is from the word for halal. And the original pictogram, which has now been morphed, is literally a person with their hands up. Hands up has been an important part of worship in Mesopotamia and Mediterranean for a really long time. We have praying figures have their hands in the air. So Protestants everywhere.
Yeah.
Repent.
No.
Hands in pockets, Starbucks, drinking, worship. What has happened to our society?
Even just the standard hands in front of your chest or, hands folded down by your side. That's...
Yeah. I mean, bowing, kneeling, hands up. These are dancing. These are all the biblical images of what we think of as worship. And most of us do none of them. If you hang out in an Orthodox environment, Eastern Orthodox church, you're going to do some more of those. Anglicanism, anywhere you actually kneel, Catholic.
Yeah, I used to kneel all the time in my Catholic days.
There you go. You were so biblical.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't even realize it.
Yeah, I'm thinking about this in terms of using your your definition in a strict, like rigid logical sense, and how that would work with blessing God. And there is kind of this image of us like at some threshold, and then I think about like, okay, we don't have a priestly status with God, but it's a familial thing. And I got this image of like when a kid does something really cute where like they go up to their parent and they're like yanking on their pants and the parent goes down and the kid's just like, I love you, or like says something like that. Yes. Where it's just like, that feels like a blessing, even though it's like they're not in a position of authority, but they're like, it's the same kind of movement. I don't know. Maybe that doesn't actually work on a technical level, but I liked it.
I like it too.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, that's inherent in the chesed word for sure. It's and chana too for grace. Well, here we are, maybe a full hour in. I don't know where we're at. Let's pivot to the story of Jesus in this Talmudic Conversations in Matthew series. So if we take all of this in our backpack that Yaakov didn't have, which is a great point. I'm never going to forget that, Josh, that he should have used it for a pillow. Jesus, therefore, if we apply this lens, which again is merely my hypothesis, Jesus is declaring, releasing, drawing down something from the heavenly realm through the Spirit, which is tangible, supernatural, familial, or priestly. I'm happy if it's priestly because from the Essene perspective, that was one of the rules about Messiah. They're expecting 3 messiahs, a prophet, a priest, and a king, but whatever. This is like Jesus standing before everybody like Moshe or Aharon, right? But I'm also happy if it's familial, like you just said, because Beit Av, household of God, right? All of these work for me. So Jesus is declaring that those who are poor in spirit, those who mourn, the meek, etc., all those people who the world says, certainly not them, certainly not the persecuted, certainly not those annoying peacemakers. Won't they ever be quiet? Always trying to compromise. They're forgetting what's real. Certainly the favor of God, his patronage, doesn't lie with them. They're the reviled people. And Jesus is actually standing in for my Heavenly Father here. They're actually his kids. And they, therefore, receive this blessing, which is a compass for them, which helps them cross over a threshold, which gives them a new destiny. And that isn't their eternal destiny, right? They're not just, that's who you are. You're just reviled. That's what God has for you. Bummer. And the thing I really love about this framing is that he's centering in on that. That's not their identity, which society is going to tell them that's your identity. You are the insulted. You are poor, right? I think Luke says poor instead of poor in spirit, whichever. I'm happy with both gospel rendering. But that's not the end of the road for these people. And as Christians too, right, we're not supposed to live to be insulted. Like God gives us incredibly powerful tools when we are persecuted. But that's not like, yeah, we are the persecuted. And maybe you're totally going to like push the opposite direction next week on when you walk us through these Beatitudes, Josh. And I'm excited for whatever you do unveil in there. But I'm going to postulate that just like Jacob's destiny is snatched into a new direction, Jesus is taking those who mourn and explicitly saying in his blessing, comfort for them. He's drawing down comfort as part of their inheritance, which, you know, there's lots of ways that people interpret the Beatitudes. There's lots of it. As God's people, it's good to be sad. It's good to be persecuted. And rather, it's kind of the opposite from this framework. He's grabbing a hold of the fate that the world is trying to hand to these marginalized people. And instead, he's steering us into a new lane. If you are someone who is mourning, that's not your ultimate destiny. Mourning can be good and fine and earned if you've experienced church hurt, abuse, trauma, sorrow of any kind. Please do hear, though, that that's not our identity. That's not our destiny. Comfort is what God has for us. Sorrowing and sighing shall flee away. Isaiah 35 says, all our tears shall be wiped away, Revelation says, which doesn't mean we never sigh or we never cry or we never talk about what happened. But the reality is that that's not ultimate. That's not forever. And we're invited to live into that through these tangible, supernatural, familial, priestly guiding words of power from Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
The other invitation that I want to throw out before y'all jump in at any time, but before Brent reads the final passage that'll transition us for next week, is to invite us into this practice, which for most of us, unless we're dabbling and being influenced by Jewish tradition, most of us don't do blessings ever. Right? Maybe, we might pray a special prayer at somebody's birthday or something, depends on what kind of church culture we're in. But as John O'Donohue said earlier, he said it's ironic that so often we continue to live like paupers through our inheritance of spirit is so vast. So if Jesus modeled this and we're supposed to be walking in the way of Jesus, blessing people, then we also invited to do that. Paul's telling the truth when he says that we are children of Abraham, right? So therefore, we ought to be blessing all peoples, and that includes service and really tangible things, not just like saying stuff and walking away. Like, hope it turns out better for you. Bye. Right? Has to be all of these things that I invite us to consider, that the actual spiritual practice of saying blessings at these threshold moments via the Spirit, through the Spirit, not just our own imagination, could be an earworm that might stick with us, a heartworm.
We hope we've given you heartworms.
Yeah.
But no, I one of my favorite traditions in Judaism is there's some strain of tradition of the patriarch blessing the wife and the children of the family every Shabbat. And again, you kind of have a threshold there. And the one thing that I want to say, though, about the Beatitudes is that I feel like the one sticking point, and I don't think it's really a sticking point, but the way Jesus does this that should make us perk our ears up, which I love that your definition specifically has pulled this out, is what's the threshold here?
Yeah.
What is the new threshold we're walking over that now all of a sudden all these different people who we don't know where they're at in their life, like, I mean, okay, I guess we know where the mourners are at. But the rest of them, it's like, okay, if you're poor in spirit, like, Jesus doesn't say if you just became poor. Like, it's just whatever you're doing.
If you are Job, but only that level of trauma.
Exactly. No, it seems like he's talking about all these people that are just going about their business,
right?
Either, mourning, being meek, being a peacemaker, and what could possibly be the threshold? And that's, I think, and this has nothing to do with my teaching, so I'm not going to beat around the bush, but I think it's the announcement of kingdom. Like that's here is the spoiler. I'm going to be talking about a chiasm, go figure.
Gotta have it.
Which, if you had to guess where the bookmarks of the chiasm would be, what are the two parallel blessings here?
Spoilers.
We have the poor in spirit. We have those persecuted because of righteousness. And what does Jesus say? Theirs is the kingdom of heaven. That's the new threshold here. The kingdom of heaven is here for these people to inherit. And these are the blessings I'm announcing at this threshold, this invitation. And I don't think I ever, because I've never thought about that facet of blessing.
Yeah.
I've never even considered, like, why on this occasion is Jesus blessing? I'm just like, oh, because you bless all the time. You just bless, and not thought about, like, well,
just
no,
a nice guy.
Yeah, exactly. we bless food right when we're about to eat, or in Jewish tradition at the beginning and the end. Like, those are thresholds, and there's, like, that's been in there. And I think even sometimes our gut instinct or intuition about when to do a blessing, we don't think necessarily about it needing to happen at a threshold, but that brings such a new dimension to this. I love that.
I don't want to force you how to structure your episode, Josh, but we're reading Matthew 5 here at the end. If you read it at the beginning, our 2 episodes could be a chiasm. And the center could be the blessings of the kingdom of heaven.
There we go.
Incredible. I mean, who doesn't want that?
Yeah. Putting text in the middle of a chiasm, that's pure genius.
It is. It is. Before we get to that, shout out to people who are like, I would love to start doing that. That sounds amazing, but I have no idea what I would say. How am I supposed to oh, sure, let me tap into the spirit real fast. No problem, right? If that's you, there are resources. So the Book of Blessings, John O'Donohue, is one that I enjoy, but there's tons. Every Moment Holy is a whole series of kind of liturgical blessings for all sorts of moments on the threshold of going out for a walk, on the threshold of beginning to prepare a fancy meal, on the threshold of beginning to prepare a girl dinner, as the internet would say, like a nothing dinner. So there's great, beautiful books out there. I love those too, but I'm sure other folks have ones that they love as well that give words. It might not be tapping into the spirit quite in the same way because you're not leaning into what God is doing in a very present kind of discernment way, but they're beautiful things, and certainly they're still very relevant. So if you don't know how to make this a practice, but you want to, grab some books and start seeing all the moments around you as moments to bless. Especially if you have kids, boy, every moment is a moment to be like, I see you getting up to something and I want to see what the divine spark in that is. And so I'm going to just say that and call it out. And you don't care because you're trying to climb into the washing machine right now. But I can say, yes, may you be someone who transcends the places none have gone before. May your courageous spirit, adventurous heart guide you well through your life. You can start practicing on your kids. They don't care. They're not paying attention anyway.
Yeah.
Or are they?
Yeah. Good luck with that.
And I would add,
age.
The encouragement of, remembering the beginning of Elle's definition where, you're not reinventing anything. You don't have to create or see anything that you don't know is there. You're just naming the heavenly things you see and inviting, it happens through the Spirit. It's not like going to happen because you've just had the most, incredible analytical thoughts and know this person's future. It's happening through God. So if you're at a threshold and you feel, I don't know, the tickle, and you just say what you have to say. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Do we like the tickle? Is that I've already got
I like
chiasm huffing.
Specifically.
Forget divine sparks, divine tickles.
Oh no.
That's the next thing I'm putting on your gravestone. Did you feel the tickle?
Yeah.
Question mark.
Oh no. Yeah, this one I might pull back on. I don't know about this one.
I mean, I think it's a great analogy.
Okay, great.
It's just also very entertaining. Why just one option? Why not both?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Well, save us, Brent. Bring us back.
Matthew 5 in the LAB. Blessed are the poor in spirit, because theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are the ones who mourn, because they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, because they will inherit the earth. Blessed are the ones who hunger and thirst for righteousness, because they will be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, because they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, because they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, because they will be called sons of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, because theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when they insult you and persecute you and say all kinds of evil things against you, lying on account of me. Rejoice and be glad, because your reward is great in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets before you.
Thank you so much. We'll leave it there and come on back next week. I'm ruining the chiasm. Now I'm the middle of the chiasm.
No.
It's the real problem.
It's like the Genesis 1 chiasm, where to make it work, you have to take out the thing.
Okay.
And we'll just take out this part of the episode.
That's right. And we are creation, so that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, perfect. Okay. Well, yes, that does it for this week. We're excited to hear what Josh has for us next week. In the meantime, you can go to BayMontDiscipleship.com to find the show notes, to find the contact page if you want to get in touch. But check out the books that Elle recommended if you want to start exploring some of these different ways of living out blessing in your life. And yeah, we will see what Josh has for us next week. So thanks for joining us on the Bama Podcast. We'll talk to you again soon.
Woo! Thanks, Brent. See y'all next week. You have to do your outro. Just get that. I also, while you're reading, I like stretched back and then I sat back up and slammed my face into the microphone and then was like trying not to laugh audibly.
Oh, man.
Huff the chiasm or like cuff this mic with my whole face.
Mm-hmm. We're getting tickled. We're headbutting the mic.
Thoughts and prayers, Brent.
Yeah. Brent, you got a blessing for us?
Yeah.
Bless me before I leave this Zoom call. I won't let you go.
Jack. Brent, you're the Jack to Josh's Rose.
Believe it or not, I've never seen that movie.
Really?
Honestly,
Okay.
I have also not seen that movie.
What?
I know.
Well, now you both have homework.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen the screenshot of them at the bow of the ship. Is that the bow? Is that the front?
Yeah, that was the front.
Sure. Yeah.
Is it? Okay. I don't know. I don't know ships.
I think it's bow. That's why I was laughing, but now I could be wrong.
No,
Oh.
it's definitely bow.
Bow.
I can
Bow.
tell. My dad was a sailor.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's right. I forgot.
Was he in the Navy?
Yep.
Oh, my stepdad too, but that didn't help me, apparently.
Starboard, aft,
I know those
Port.
terms from
gaming.
airplanes.
That checks out.
Mhm.